the beginning of this week's Parsha, Vayakhail, Moshe Rabbeinu has a short review of Shabbas. The Gemara says that this comes to attach Shabbat to the Melechet HaMishkan, because from the Melechet HaMishkan we derive all of the 39 categories of Melacha that are forbidden on Shabbat. So only those 39 that were in the Mishkan are osir. So therefore the definition of work is not our ordinary definition of work. So for instance, I don't know why you would want to do it, unless your wife told you to, but if you want to move your couch from one end of the front room to the other end of the front room on Shabbos, so you can do so, even though that's work. And carrying a handkerchief in your pocket in an area that does not have an Erev, that is work, even though it doesn't require a great deal of effort, and we may not even be conscious of it. So Shabbos is a very specific thing, because of the fact Kabbalah, it has great spiritual connections. It influences heaven, it influences nature, it influences things that are unseen to us. And really the Shabbat was and is the foundation stone of Jewish life. Wherever there's a Shabbat, there is Jewish life. And wherever, God forbid, there isn't, so then no matter what else there is, it will disappear. So in this review, we have a posuk that says, Lo tavaru eish b'chol moshvosdeichem b'yom HaShabbat. You should not burn fire in all of your settlements on the Shabbat day. It's a funny posuk. And why is that the only thing that's mentioned? It's the other 38 Avot Malachot are not mentioned at all. Why doesn't it say, that you can't build other things? You can't weave, you can't make, can't sew. There are many things that the Torah could have said. So this is already a machlokas in the Gemara. It's two streams in the Gemara. One says, Havor lelav yotzos, that the reason that Havora, the lighting of fire, is mentioned is because all of the other 38 Avos Malachas carry with them a punishment of chorus. They're very severe. And this is Havor lelav yotzos. Havora only came as a lav. So that Havora is a lesser malacha in terms of punishment, in terms of consequences. And that's why the Torah mentioned it. That's why it says, Lo sevaru eish, that's the law. The other man, the Omar, holds that that's not the reason that the Torah mentioned it. Havor l'chalek yotzos. There are 39 Avos Malachas. So I would think that a person, God forbid, wants to violate the Sabbath, he has to commit all 39 Avos Malachas. How do I know that any one of the 39, if the person violates it, is sufficient to be called Mechalaleha? That's sufficient to be called Chilul Shabbat. So therefore, that's why the Torah mentioned this posuk, Avor l'chalek yotzos. So, but that to a certain extent begs the question, then why did they pick Avora? if you wanted to be machalik, you could have said any other malacha too. So the Meforshim say that fire is the basic tool of civilization. It was the first invention, so to speak, of humankind. Even till today, though there's experiments with chimpanzees, I don't think they can vote in the next election yet, but we got to wait and see. But the chimpanzees have learned how to rub two sticks together with enough force to be able that the friction will emit the spark and they could make fire. But except for that, there's no animal that can make a fire. Fire is a human creation, and it's the basic tool of civilization. Once you know how to make a fire, then all sorts of things can happen. It's metallurgy, it's energy, it's everything that we're accustomed to in life is because of the fact of fire. And because of that, since it is so necessary and such an integral part of civilized life, so we would think that it's mutter on Shabbos. Because how could there be a Shabbos if you ban fire? So therefore the Torah came and said, no, lo savaru eish b'chol mashvaseichem b'yom HaShabbat. And that's why fire is used l'chalek instead of any of the other 38 avos malachos. So over the centuries of history, this has become a central issue. So, for instance, the Karoim, the Karaites, who started in the 7th century in Mesopotamia, and for a while were very numerous and very powerful in the Jewish world, till about the 13th century, like for 600-700 years. You have to realize that movements within the Jewish people don't disappear easily. Even if they're proven wrong, it doesn't make a difference. They don't disappear easily. So the Tzdokim, for instance, and the Bayesheni lasted 400 or 500 years. So the Karoim lasted also. There still are Karaites today. They have, I think, a synagogue in Cholon or in Lod. And, but they're a very small group. And they... the Nazis considered them Jews. So most of the Karaite community in Eastern Europe was destroyed. But the Karoim said, they took the Torah literally. They denied Torah Shabbal Peh. They denied the oral law and the interpretation of the rabbis. And they said, we only do what it says. The problem with that is that no one knows what it says. What it says has to be explained. But they did not allow fire within their settlements or homes on the Shabbat at all. So they had a cold Shabbat and a dark Shabbat, and they ate cold food. In order to counteract that, the Tzdokim already spoke about that. So we have the custom of having hot food on Shabbos. And in fact, everyone should have something hot on Shabbat. So the great invention was chond. That you were able to set it before Shabbat, and you had warm food. Or you can, if you set your tea thing or whatever it is, but everyone, you have to have something hot on Shabbat, because that is lahotzi milibon shel tzdokim. That's to counteract that idea. So what does Lo Savaru Eish B'chol Moshe Oseichem imply to us? So it implies that on Shabbat you cannot make the fire. But if the fire was made before Shabbat, you somehow can benefit from it. And the rabbis explain that you can benefit if the fire is covered, Goruv V'kotum, the idea of a blech, the idea of a hot plate, etc., all of which are currently standard fare in Shabbat. So there arose a problem which has never been solved, in my opinion at least. And you know I'm never wrong, so what is electricity? What's the Av Malacha involved in turning on a light on Shabbos? I'm glad you solved it. So there was an article that appeared in a rabbinic journal in the early 20th century, authored by the Orach HaShulchan, the Rav of the Viaduct, the Orach HaShulchan, the father of the Torah Tmima, the brother-in-law of the Netziv, one of the great Gaonim of the past century. And he said that electricity is Eish. He said he consulted with scientists, etc., and electricity falls under the rubric of Eish. And therefore, he says, a chidush, that on Yontiv, when Eish is permitted, then electricity is permitted. You could turn on lights on Yontiv. And I remember in Chicago, in my youth, very, very pious Jews that turned on the electricity on Yontiv because they held like the Shita of the Orach HaShulchan. The Chazon Ish disagreed. He disagreed very strongly. And he said, again, he said that it's not Eish, there's no fire in the wire. And that there's such a thing as cold electricity, which there is. And therefore he said that the Isser is Boneh, as you said. It's Binyan. Because now you are building the circuit. You are creating something that didn't exist before. You're connecting the circuit. So Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach disagreed with the Chazon Ish. He wrote a long book on it. And he said it's not Bona, and we have a din ein binyan b'kelim, it's not Bona. So he, it's interesting, he said, I really don't know what it is, which nobody does today even. We don't know, science is yet to define what electricity is. It's a bunch of molecules working in concert. But there's no clear definition of what it is. So he said that it's like masakin mona, you're fixing something. In effect, at the end, he says it's not Shabbosdik, which is a great statement because that covers a lot of the territory, right? And I always used to say that to my children. You know, why can't we do this, this game, that game, and go here, go there? You say it's not Shabbosdik. You know, like there is a set of rules called Shabbosdik. But this remained a problem, and it remains a problem until today. So, for instance, we have had Terim on it. Yeah, people have Shabbos clocks, right? So people think that the Shabbos clock is mutter because it's groma, it's goring. You're not doing anything. You set it, and it works automatically, so you're not involved. But the poskim that allow the Shabbos clock, there are those that don't. Rav Hadja was very much opposed to Shabbos clocks, but his opposition was again that it was not Shabbosdik. But those that allow it, they allow it with electricity because we don't know what electricity is. And therefore, if there's a way to make a groma on something that we don't know what it is, so then it's certainly allowed. And that became the prevailing opinion and prevailing customs that exist within the Jewish people today regarding this issue on Shabbat. So whether lo savaru eish b'chol moshvaseichem applies here or not is really a matter of halachic discussion. And again, it is not clear because science isn't clear either as to what the true nature of electricity is. And if you can't define it, so it's hard to know what av malacha to place it under. So maybe at Machon Lev you'll be able to figure it out for us, or maybe in Torah Shraga they'll figure it out, whatever. But we're waiting for the result. Rabbi Chananya ben Akash Omer Ratza Gadosh Baruch Hu Lazakos Yisrael Lefichach Hirba Lahem Torah Mitzvah Shenemar Adonai Chavei Tzaman Tzidko Yagdil Torah V'Yadir.